shop pad that I'm kind of working on here. I didn't have this one planned, but I haven't been on here for like a week, so I figured I would show you guys kind of what's been going on here. So basically over my shoulder here, you guys can kind of see we got my shop pad in play here. So you can kind of see we got a lot of gravel in there. There's been a lot of work to get it to where it's at. I want to kind of show you guys here. Maybe I'll wait towards a little bit farther in the video here because I'm a little ways from my router here and I don't want to walk too far. But so if you can kind of see behind me here, right there where that ridge is there, basically that's going to be the edge of the pad. And I've started bringing back dirt that I've dug out to basically just pack against it. So if you guys can see here, kind of give you an idea how deep this is. We're probably almost waist deep of gravel here where we're at here, probably 4 feet anyways, close to it. So I'll kind of give you the rundown of exactly what kind of happened here. So when I first started doing this, I was trying to figure out, we got such a slope in our yard, and it's probably deceiving by video here, but I was trying to figure out, how am I going to deal with this? Am I going to just bring a bunch of material in? Am I going to dig some out? And so essentially my neighbor kind of said, well, maybe you should just dig a little out and bring a little in. And I said, okay, well, that's probably not the worst idea. So that's kind of where we came to here. And so you can kind of see behind me here, I dug it out with a mini excavator and then dug it back. And a bunch of that material is going to have to be put back here, not underneath. So a big part of the problem here is I had to remove a bunch of trees, so there was huge roots and everything. So you really had to get down there to actually get rid of that. So you don't want to have like problems with your foundation later on. And then also I didn't want to have to rent compaction equipment. So, you know, I don't really like it when people put clay in and they compact it and then they put a building on top of it right away. In my personal opinion, from experience, that doesn't generally go very well in the long term. It was a lot of work to try to get this leveled out. So this is 46 by 40 here. And so what we kind of got going on here is like, it was deceiving. We ended up bringing, this is close to 200 tons of, so it's number 57 stone, which is 5 and 7 stone together. So basically fractured rock or whatever, basically 2 different sizes, no fines essentially. It's basically just fractured clean rock washed. And so, you know, it gets fairly expensive by the time you bring in almost 200 tons of it here. So it's just, yeah, I know. So I'm trying to figure out, I guess, the next steps here. So I had the concrete guys come in last week. They came in and well, I guess they came in a few days ago and they looked at it, and I wanted to get the concrete poured today, actually. So what's up, Ty? Russian engineer, how's it going? Gene, I don't know what your actual name is there, Gene. Yeah, so basically we ended up being way short. So he ran the transit there, we ended up being way short on it, and so what I ended up having to do was bring another whole pile of it in there. So we were actually like a foot short on the low side, right where the stake is behind me. We were a foot short there, so we ended up having to bring another 9 loads in to get that leveled off. So it's basically ready for concrete now. By the time this is said and done, the concrete's going to cost as much as the gravel did almost. So there's some different ways of, yeah, go ahead, man. Appreciate it. You see, mostly what I do is a lot of old car stuff. So I buy and fix up old cars and things like that. I try to get ones that are like ready for the scrapyard, basically. And I wanted some space for that. I work on heavy equipment and stuff too, so I needed a shop for that. So just a bunch of different things or whatever. So basically we're trying to get this 46 by 40 shop, keeping it super, super simple. The idea here is to kind of be on a super budget here. Just kind of showing my new shop pad here. It's, you can kind of see there's a lot of gravel in there. So, hello. So I'm basically trying to get some concrete poured on here so that we can start building. And so when I was originally going to build this, when I was originally going to build this, I wanted to do a pole barn. Now, if you can kind of see here behind me, that's all the rocks that basically came out of there. I mean, there's some that are half the size of a car. That's a microphone. So it was just you would never be able to drill holes here without a major amount of work. Plus, the new posts for pole barns aren't really that great. A lot of them are rotting away in like 8 to 10 years. They're rotting away basically. So that's kind of a huge problem here. So basically, that's kind of where we're at there. Not too tired. Why? Wow. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on here. So I'm essentially going to pour a concrete pad. It's not going to have a foundation, meaning no footer. Um, I'm not putting pilings. I'm not doing anything like that. So the only thing that's going to probably get dug down a little bit here. So if you watched a bunch of our previous videos there, we ended up digging this down, and when we dug it down, we actually put geotech fabric underneath it, which is like really good for holding base. It's like a soil stabilizer essentially there. Um, that's funny. So it's essentially a soil stabilizer. We're basically trying to make it that it's as solid as possible. It's not, we're on the side of a mountain, so ground can kind of slip if you don't have. A lot of people will put like caissons in, so basically concrete pilings and things like that. But then you get into a really high expense and a lot of time and just things like that. So I had to kind of, I guess I had to make some decisions here. I wanted to put water lines in it for in-floor heating. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that, but basically we put Geotech 57 stone on top of that, and then we're going to pack it up with clay around the bases there, and that's kind of where we're at here. So it's kind of been an ordeal here. It's still not. I don't know if you guys can see it over my shoulder here. Let me see, right there. There's still kind of a ledge there, so it's going to have to be cut down. So I'm going to put one door in. It's either going to be 12 wide by 14 tall or 14 by 14, something like that. So that's kind of the plan. I'd like to be able to have, if I want to shove 5 vehicles in there and still have room to work with some other equipment, things like that, that's kind of what I would like to have for space there. So that's what we're trying to work on here. So it's going to have 16-foot walls. We're going to do 2x6 walls, basically anchored to the concrete essentially. And so, everybody's got their own ways of doing things. A lot of people say you should put pilings all over the place. A lot of people say you should, make the concrete thicker or put footers or whatever. Yeah, I know. I'm excited to not have a thing that smells like gas too, a house preferably. So that's kind of where we're at with it. So I got looking at this yesterday, and where I started bringing this material back in, I was like, we actually have, if you can kind of see our yard here, our yard is we got the pool back there, and then over my shoulder, we got a little fire pit area. But actually, this area that's behind the shop, once that gets kind of leveled out, that would actually almost be like a nice sitting area where you'll already have power out there. So that might be something that we'll consider there, freeing on the road there. That's my wife. So we're just kind of trying to figure this out as we go here. We're not experts or anything. I'm not sure. I haven't been live for about a week. I've been busy, so haven't been kind of rocking. I got a few videos coming out, just some maintenance videos basically this weekend here. I fixed a generator that I need before wintertime there, and then fixed our traverse there today, some window switches, and replaced those. And then I serviced this tractor that I've been using for another video there, so I got that coming. I actually have the square body. I was going to do that for this week, but I just haven't had any time. I was really jamming this week to try to get this concrete done. I was really hoping that they could have poured it today, because it's been basically like into the 80s here, high 70s, low 80s there. Nice. Yeah, thanks. So I've been trying to kind of rock and roll there and get this thing ready. So we had trouble. It was kind of low, so we got a string line yesterday and strung it out, and it was high in the middle, and that naturally happens when you're going with the loader there. So I worked on that. I think I got it pretty close. The concrete guy was supposed to come today and frame it, but he couldn't come for some reason. So I think I might have to get back to work. But what sucks is next week it's supposed to be raining quite a bit, so I don't know what's going to happen here. I do need to get this done, because it's going to take, just to get this thing to have a shell with a roof and everything like that. You got to put up the walls and frame with the windows and doors and overhead doors and all that kind of stuff. And then if you want to put some ventilation fans or anything like that, so you have to have that all up, and then put the put the trusses on it, of course, and then tin just to have it to actually something that's got a roof over it, and then tin or whatever you're going to do for siding and stuff as well. So yeah, so that's kind of a whole ordeal there or whatever. But I'm one of these days I'm gonna have to try Q&A on this thing and see how it works. It says a word that's, let me see. How do you do a Q&A on this joint here? Well, let me do it. No, maybe not. It was asking me. Let me see if it'll try. Nope. But yeah, anyway, so that's kind of what the plan is here. So I've been just kind of jamming on that this week. I've been basically off all week working on this from regular things that actually make me money, but I want to work on that square body pretty quick here. It's actually running and driving, but I believe that oh, there's my neighbor. He's got some cool cars. He's got like I think it's a ZR1 Corvette or something like that. I forget. LT4 car, whatever. LT4 supercharged. Yeah. So I didn't really show anybody any of my current vehicles that I have left here. You guys have been watching for a long time. You probably have a pretty good idea of what's kind of been in the works here. So I sold that AMC Matador. You guys saw that last week's video there. So I delivered that. That guy will be pretty happy with it. It was one of the ones that I didn't really want to sell, but had to sell that thing to help fund along this project here. I know it's going to cost a lot of money and I don't want to borrow money for it. So just kind of things that have accumulated over the years have to go. So no big deal. It's easy to get cars. It's harder to get people to come and do things like concrete and groundwork and things like that or whatever. So, but I think we've pretty much got this gravel to where we need to be. I would have liked to have been more level with the ground that I started at. Maybe I took a little too much out there. Wasn't really a great way to do it. I would have been short one way or the other here. So I am 2%. I'm cooked. What's 2%? Not even sure what that means. And there was a lot of people in here a minute ago. So yeah, that's kind of what we're working on here. I can show you guys if you guys want to see. I'll show you. 1%. That's funny. So I'll show you guys kind of. I don't want to get too far away here, but let's see if you guys can see over my shoulder here. So look how much higher it is. I'll walk down the hill a little bit. I think I'll have a good enough connection here. I want to show you guys how far down we are in our yard to where the actual concrete is here. So I'm 6 feet tall. And if you look straight behind me there, my head's level with our main driveway. So that shows you how much material we've already brought in here. So it's crazy. It's a lot of messing around and stuff. But so what essentially doing a pad. So I'm going to do a 6-inch pad just so I do have a fairly thick foundation. I like to start with. You got to remember with what I'm doing here. So if you kind of look at this, essentially when you pour the concrete here, it's going to be a floating pad essentially. So you don't really need a foundation for that, especially when, I mean, this stuff, when you dump it out of the bucket, it's 95% compacted. So it's basically like rock hard. I mean, you drive on it right afterwards there with any piece of heavy equipment. Like I drove a payloader across it, first packing it in there or just leveling it off and stuff. And it's like concrete basically. So I'm not worried about any of that stuff. I do want to dig out a couple spots for a 2-post hoist for the future. I might not even put one in, honestly. A friend of mine's got a single post portable hoist, and I really like how that idea of that looks, and it doesn't take up a bunch of floor space. But yeah, so let me show you what we got for projects here other than that. So that kind of gives you an idea how much gravel we've brought in there already. It's not just gravel. If you had just put gravel in here, then you would have to compact it because it doesn't self-compact. But because it's 57 stone, it's 95% compacted. So basically by the time you drive on it, it's basically 100%. So that's kind of where we're at with that. I'll show you guys some of the projects we got going on here. I'll show you you want to see my square bodies and things like that. My mom is going to kill me if I charge. She in the chicken kitchen. So I was working on this today, put some window switches and stuff in it. So here's what we kind of got so far here right now for projects. Not too much left here, honestly. Basically, this is that square body I just bought. You guys kind of saw little bits and pieces of that. You guys are pretty much getting the first real looks of it, because I haven't actually dropped that video yet. I haven't finished it, but this is that's the latest project. And then we got another square body over here. This is my son's. This thing's a mess. It was actually on track to being a really nice, pretty quick truck here. We probably would have had it painted by now if all the other stuff didn't happen, but he put the motor together and had some issues with it there. Long story short, it ate itself up. So pretty much a brand new 404, 403. It's a 400, 20 over 400. This thing basically got eaten up. So that thing's toast. It had a pile of good parts too. It's got a nicely built transmission, turbo 350, like nice clutches and stuff in it. It's got what else has it got in it? Edelbrock intake. It's got a 750 carb. It was a comp 286 cam, I think, in it. A couple things like that, but now it's just sitting here and it's starting to get to be in bad shape. So not ideal, not ideal. And then what else do we got here? Take you over and show you this car, which I'm not going to do anything with this car until I actually get my shop built, because I know it's going to have to get completely torn down. And I will actually want to paint this car and kind of do it as nice as possible here. So I'm going to just basically wait on that. So I actually have a spare motor for this car. I found a rear glass, which I needed. I'll have to figure out the interior. So this is a 63 Le Mans Tempest. So it was the year before the GTO came out. So it looks like a GTO kind of, but a compact version of it, which is kind of funny. I'll show you guys here. So this is what we got for it. I just haven't gone forward with it here. I just don't have enough. I don't have enough space to do a project like this in my current garage there. So I could have just kind of done it halfway. But if you're going to go to the trouble, this is such a cool car. It's got a Trophy 4 engine in it, which is half of a Pontiac 389. Such a cool car. So I want to just do it right. But I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it. I have some ideas here, but I want to get it running and driving first and then see from there. But it's a very, very solid car. Needs a little bit of floor work. The hood's a little tweaked from not getting lubed good and stuff there. Yeah, what else? Man, we're running out of project vehicles here actually, but I'll show you guys the other ones you haven't seen in a little bit here, which actually I kind of forgot about. But we'll show you the garage here. My wife got me she said I'm walking too far away from the router. She got me a garage door opener for Christmas, and it has or my birthday, I think. I don't remember anymore. Father's Day, maybe. So this is that square body that I painted. That's kind of what we got there. And then my 85 Camaro, that thing's got a 6-liter LS swap in it there. Sorry about that. I didn't realize that first. Yeah, so basically this is the last series that you guys saw there. That's kind of what I threw together there. I actually have a guy interested in looking at it. It's for sale. Basically just to move on to some other project here. So I don't know what I would do next. I do have a couple ideas here. I do want to get this thing running. It's been a year since I've actually driven this Camaro, so there's mice and stuff getting into it. And basically just having issues. I tried to start it last time and it's got no spark now, so don't know. It needs exhaust and things, and it's another one of those I was kind of holding off on it because I didn't really want to get into like putting exhaust and things on it and having to pay somebody, like exhaust for this car would probably be $1,000, and I could do it in my own shop for a project for YouTube or whatever, and basically do it for probably a couple $100, if not even less than that. Plus, I know exactly what it is, and I like to learn things too. I'm not the best welder and fabricator things, but sometimes how you learn. So that's kind of where we're at for that. But yeah, like I said, basically it's kind of got a little cordless power washer here, or I guess it's corded, but it's a diesel, so it's actually a heated pressure washer. But that's about it for my projects right now. So actually running pretty thin. Let's see here. So yeah, I'm gonna do the square body here next. That's kind of the plan here, and got into a little bit more of a project than I was anticipating with this thing here. The Blue 67 Firebird, so I wouldn't mind doing something like that just for the heck of it. Why not? Kind of do a retro version of that or whatever. But so yeah, I'm getting pretty thin. I have more mower projects right now than I do actual car projects, vehicles in here. Sure, one out. He ran it out of oil there last week, so not ideal. Only had a half a quart of oil in it. Cars don't run very good with half a quart of oil, guys, just so you know. So I got in this cardboard here, I bought a sheet of 40 by 50 plastic, so that's going to go underneath the concrete, basically, for a vapor barrier. But I wanted to go out basically for the dips for the hoist. So I'll probably just dig down maybe, I don't know, 6 or 8 inches or something like that. It doesn't have to be crazy, just so there's a little extra beef there when I do go to put one in. Like I said, I don't even know if I'm going to actually put one in like that, but I've got some rough dimensions, and I figured I would at least pour the concrete thicker in that one spot, so I know for sure that if I want to, I can do that. So, but this is kind of, like I said, it kind of gives you an idea here. I'll show you perspective here. It's probably hard to see, but so that's how much of a drop there still is coming into the actual basically. That's going to have to be where it'll be 6 inches taller, so 5.5, because it's a 6 inch is going to be a 2x6, which is 5.5. So it'll be pretty close, but there's still quite a bit of a grade coming up to that driveway there. So yeah, you missed the last 30 to 45 seconds about your dream car. Oh, and what car didn't have oil? The car that didn't have oil was my son's car. He decided that cars don't need oil to run, I guess. He left half a quart in it though, so. But I do have to fix on that tractor. That downrigger is leaking. I actually have somebody interested in that machine there. It's like ladybug season. I'm getting covered in ladybugs here, guys. So that's kind of where we're at there. So I think pole barns have a place for sure. Honestly, if I was going to build a pole barn, I would figure out a different way to treat the boards there. I know you're not supposed to put oil and stuff on the posts now, because all the greenies go haywire about it and stuff like that. But I think if you were going to do it, that would make it last the longest. You're only getting posts that are going to last 8 to 10 years in the ground now. So that's, especially if you have wet ground. Like when I dug down here and I was only digging, you go 3 or 4 inches down and the ground is soaked, because we're kind of like where the shop is. It's already probably 4 feet down from the top of the peak, right? So naturally groundwater is going to run downhill there. So that could potentially be a problem. So that's just kind of things to think about. Also, you have to think about how are you going to insulate it? How are you going to stop like animals and critters and stuff from getting in there? To me, that was another reason that I'm going to do a stick built. I'm actually thinking of just taking the 2x6s and just using a paintbrush and painting them, because we have really bad problems with ants around here, basically carpenter ants, and they just freaking annihilate everything, man. It's crazy. We left a pile of lumber out here on our deck for maybe 2 months. We had bought like a whole basically pallet of lumber there. It was like 2x12s or whatever we were going to use for our deck, and we just didn't get to it right away because we had other things going. So we went to start using them there, and there was like, I mean, the ones that were on the bottom, there was like nothing left of them. They were literally completely destroyed. So that's actually part of the reason I haven't bought trusses yet, because I've seen some trusses like close by in some local places and stuff, but you lay them on the ground out here, they'll in 2 weeks laying on the ground, they'll be eaten up. So something to kind of think about there. So it's kind of the same thing when we go to side our house there. We're probably going to do something similar where we want to basically do something to make sure that that gets sealed up really good and can't be a problem in the future. So like I said, people use oil. Like I've seen people take, for example, used transmission fluid, and they'll use the used transmission fluid and paint their fence boards with it, and it'll last for like forever, pretty much, like probably until you die. But it'll give it like a neat color. So instead of being like black or something, like diesel oil, of course, it would be like black. But if you use like used car oil, it might be more of like a brown or something. But if you use transmission fluid, even if you want to use new transmission fluid, you probably could. It'd probably give it like a cool cherry red color or something like that. So there's ways that you can do that. But like I said, I'm not recommending that. But in this day and age, with the stuff that they give us to work with, there's not a lot of options, honestly. Like you can't just, spend $80,000 on a barn and expect it to last 8 years. Like that's what people are basically paying for these, right? For these pole barns now. Like almost, I'm on a bunch of the pole barn groups, and people that are building like kind of on average, I would say, just to a shell. So something like along the lines of like a 30 by 40, 30 by 50, something like that. They're like, by the time they do the concrete in the building, they're like at least 50 or 60 grand into it, and they haven't even put power or insulation or any of that kind of stuff. So it's just kind of one of those things, like how are you going to keep that from getting destroyed? So, and same with this, people are like, well, that won't work, you can't do gravel like that, that's too much gravel, or not, not enough whatever stuff around the edges and things like that. And you work within your budget, right? So I think by the time this is all said and done, I'll probably have this building done, even with being way more gravel than I was anticipating. Even with that, I'll still be way, way less money. I mean, like I had priced out a concrete pad when we lived in Canada, and just the concrete pad there alone was basically what this whole shop was going to cost me. So, and that was half the size. So, just to kind of give you an idea of how expensive things are. So, I mean, like I said, if I could have a totally finished shop and kind of done the way I want to do it and save some money and stuff. I mean, if I'm going to save 60, 70 grand, that's a huge savings. So it's, again, whatever people kind of think, or whatever, everybody's got their own ideas. A lot of people have no problem spending the money, and I'm not criticizing or knocking anybody. Prices are what the prices are, but a lot of the stuff I'm going to buy is like, for marketplace, like marketplace trusses, probably going to get wood off of marketplace. I'll probably buy tin from marketplace, or else like extreme like discount budget places and things like that. So I just don't want to, like for example, tin siding is like for just like a shops type siding or even house type siding or whatever that's metal. You're talking, it's like most, I would say what would be considered cheap would be about $3.50 to $4 a foot for a 3 foot wide piece. And it goes as high as like probably $6-7 depending on what style you want and things like that. Well, we have like local people around here, for example, they're selling generic colors, so you can get like red, um, steel color, like galvanized basically, or I forget what the other one's, black, which black kind of sucks around here because it gets so hot. So, but there's basically 3 color choices. So if you want to do that, you can get it for like $2 a foot. So it's all a trade-off, right? So then if I was to do like red, well, then I have to think about that. How is it going to match the house, and what are we going to do there, and things like that. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but there's options. Or people, lots of times they buy them from like auctions and stuff and try to resell them and make $500 on a pallet or something. So they're making money, but it's still cheap or whatever. So I might even go down the route of trying to find something through a through an auction or something like that, because I won't be in a frantic rush. You can also buy the wood style siding. The problem I have with that is it wouldn't like last forever, and I don't want to have to do this again. So once the shop is done, I'm hoping that this is good for a long time. I don't outgrow it, and I don't want to have to do any work to it. So I just want to do it kind of once and do it as good as I can possibly afford right now, and then kind of make sure that I won't have to hopefully do this again in a couple of years. Um, Doing it 40-foot wide trusses will be a good thing, because if I ever want to add on to it, there is the ability to basically add on to it. A person could always reshape the wall or something like that. It's not as easy to do with a stick built building, though, I will say. Like if you have a pole barn, that's an advantage. You could just basically knock one wall out and keep adding on to that pole barn. So that kind of stuff is a little bit of a trickier situation. But I think we measured it out one day there, and it was like 80 feet extra I could potentially go if I wanted to. But again, it's just one of those things. It's like this was already a giant project for us and stuff. So by the time it all gets said and done, and we pay for all of this and everything there, that'll be a lot for now. So that'll give me room to, like I said, work on tractors or any kind of equipment I want to bring in there, to work on cars or whatever. And as we kind of get in there, we'll get a feel for where we can maybe put some loft space in. I think floor space is life for sure. A friend of mine said that the other day to me, like, don't clutter up your floor, which is true. So I think if you can put corner lofts in, for example, or even just like 3-foot wide lofts that maybe would like be for car parts or things like that, you don't have to necessarily be able to walk around up there. You could even just have something where you can just get up there with a ladder or whatever you got to do, but just kind of give you options or whatever. But lots of shop and classic cars are watching us get the shop up for more fun car projects. I know people don't want to see it. Seems like these days they don't want to watch these longer videos, that like not longer but like longer series. Like I did the Matador there. I did have a couple little peaks there halfway through, I guess, that did pretty well. But it's like for the most part, people don't really want to watch like a 10-part series on a vehicle, restoration or whatever you want to call it, right? Or people don't really seem to care that much about that. So I don't know. I think that's not really the best. That's why something like even that square body that was kind of not that bad, it took me way longer than it should have because of the space I had to work with. But after, I posted my last video, which was really supposed to be the one big video about it, it did the worst out of all of the videos. And again, people are just they're so short, I guess, minded or whatever these days. That short attention span, I should say, is the way I should say it. But short attention span, they want to see the next thing. So really, that's why guys that do a car a week, they do pretty well, because okay, they did this car, it's they got it running and fixed and painted or whatever, on to the next one, and then on to the next one, and on to the next one, right? And so that's hard to do as just like a regular guy that still has like a life to deal with. I'm not just doing this full time, so that's a little bit tricky, but I can understand people wanting to kind of see something different all the time. I think with some shop space, I'll be able to move around between projects too and not have to do the same one every week. So that'll kind of help that for sure. If you watch guys like Tony Angelo and stuff, they definitely have that kind of thing figured out where they'll have like 10 car projects on the go or something, but you might not see it again they'll do it one week and then you might not see it again for 3 months or something. Well, then people kind of can accept that, it seems like. So, but yeah, so this is what we got anyway. So I'm hoping this is kind of pretty much done here. It's supposed to rain next week. I was supposed to get concrete done today. I thought if he would at least put the forms up today, he could have either poured tomorrow or poured on Monday, because it's supposed to still be decent on Monday, but I got to get back to work and I don't really want them pouring when I'm not here. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that situation. So I just want to make sure that everything kind of gets in where it's supposed to. I want to make sure that my my pads for for the hoist and stuff get put in, things like that. And we got to put the plastic down too. So I don't really know. I suppose I could cut holes in the plastic where the pad would be. I don't want to lay the plastic down until he comes back and shoots it, but just eyeballing it, it looks very, very close. It might need a tiny bit of touching up here, but not too sure. So, but what do you guys got going on here? Is anybody else working on any projects or got any pole barn stuff on the go or building a shop or garage or anything like that? There's like a lot of people ask questions about these things because if you've never built one before, which I haven't, yeah, probably make some mistakes and learn from it. The only good part is where we are, we have a lot of leniency with being able to build. So um, don't have as much, I guess, you don't have to get engineering plans and all that kind of stuff. So that's going to save you money for sure. You know, that's good and bad, I guess. If you have really hillbilly redneck neighbors, that's probably not to your advantage, but we have really good neighbors here. So we're a pretty good neighborhood, so we don't have too much of that. So it's going to free up a lot of the stuff in the yard too, where I have places to put things. My garage is just overflowing with stuff. So once I get things into storage and toolboxes and all that kind of stuff, whatever there, it kind of, it'll just be a lot cleaner too. So that's kind of what we're working towards here, but we're going to run out of warm weather here pretty soon. And I don't really want them pouring if it starts getting freezing at night. I've seen people do it and I've seen it where it's been okay, but I'm not in love with it. So I don't know. I was really hoping they would have got it done, but whatever. I'm at the mercy of the contractor. So I guess we'll kind of see what happens with it here. So unless he gets a hold of me today yet or something, otherwise I got to get back to work here and start working and making some money and whatnot here. So I'm going to go and do something else, I guess, here. My wife's editing for me here, so she probably needs me to finish wrapping up that video for the last video this weekend here. I'm gonna have 3 back-to-back. It's just basically DIY stuff, so nothing too serious. I didn't have any car project video this week. Said I didn't have a chance to finish up the square body one, so that will probably be next week now. I guess if I don't have to work on this next week, that'll give me a little free time there. So, but all right, guys, I'm gonna duck out. Thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate you guys all checking in here and stuff. I guess it's Friday and everybody's looking for something to do or something to watch on their way home, probably, I suppose. So we'll see what we got going on here this weekend, and I guess hopefully I can get back to work on this and maybe get some concrete this in the next couple of weeks here. It probably won't be next week now, but and I don't know. We'll see how it goes here, but I'll keep you guys updated anyways. I just wanted to show you kind of what we had done there. I was curious if anybody else was doing any pole barn type projects and stuff here, because everybody's got different ideas. I actually, partially why I got this idea was there's a guy that's actually, I think he's in Indiana, if I remember right there, and he's in like a cold area and it freezes and thaws, and he put something like, I think it was 40 by 60 on a 6-inch concrete pad, and actually his was 4 inches, as a matter of fact, and he just stick built it on there and away he went. So it worked fine. So I mean, mine's going to be 6 inches thick here, so should be good to go. But all right, guys, well, I will catch you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching. You guys help me out and hit the subscribe button there. Help me grow the channel. Like I said, we're on a pretty good roll here lately. I'll try to get some more classic car content out. I'm running out of classic cars, as you can see. If I get rid of the square body, maybe I'll find something to replace it in the meantime here, but it's supposed to be a guy coming to look at that tonight, so we'll see how that goes. But if that goes, then I'll probably pick up something else for another project to show you guys. So if you guys got any ideas for projects that you want to see me do, remember, budget projects. Budget, don't be sending me $10,000 projects. That's not my thing. I like things that are like $2,000 or less that basically I can fix and get my money back out of. I'm not trying to make money on it or anything like that, but I'm cool just getting something where I can save it from the wrecker or whatever and basically make it into something that's a lot better than it was. I like, you know, I don't love, not because I don't like doing it, but right now with where I'm at in my garage, once I have a shop, it'll be okay, but I don't like doing these giant mechanical projects where I have to do like brakes and engines and all that stuff, because I just don't have the space. But once I get the shop done, I'll be totally fine doing that kind of stuff. So, all right, guys, well, you guys enjoy your weekend, and I will catch you later. Maybe I'll have time to dip in for something tomorrow. Happy Friday.